And sometimes you just might want to give a piece of your mind to people who make things darn right difficult. You know who we're talking about. You know the type. They are hard to work with. They are tough to level with. And sometimes they make a simple conversation seem like a huge, hard task. So today we ask the burning question, how can you deal with difficult women? Studio 5 Motherhood Matters contributor Connie Sokol has a few suggestions for us. And here's the thing, as I was thinking about this topic, my mind went to the other side of it, thinking, am I sometimes a difficult woman? And I think the answer is, aren't we all at one point or the other difficult?
Well, as you're describing that, as you're in, I'm like, me. And I don't think we intend to be difficult. We don't realize that we're being difficult until someone gently, lovingly lets us know we could probably do this differently.
Right off the bat, you say there is one thing that women can do to eliminate most offenses that happen.
Yes, and that's don't take it personally. We are so fabulous, I think, as women. We've got our sensitivities out, and we're aware of people and what's going on in their lives and how can we help. But I think those same sensitivities can get bruised and kind of bumped, and so we end up getting offended by things that we really don't need to be offended by. And so it's so helpful when we can just pull that back and let people just develop as people and not necessarily react to what they're doing.
And again, we've all been the offenders. That's the thing, is we're so keen to recognize it when it happens to us, but we're not so aware oftentimes when we do that to other women.
That's right. And the way that someone responds to us is so key, because then we can get a gentle notification of, you kind of been difficult. You've been kind of a pill. Like Sherry Dew shares in her book, If Life Were Easy, It Wouldn't Be Hard. I love, she was talking about being in a smaller women's meeting, and she was frustrated about some different things, and finally she just kind of left and was done, and left in not the best of air. And later on, she was realizing the error of her ways and thought, I want to apologize. But before she could even apologize, these sweet women at the meeting had brought over a casserole and said, we know you're under a ton of stress, and we wanted to help, and you weren't being yourself, and so what can we do? How can we help? Oh, isn't that delightful that they were so grounded that they didn't just react knee-jerk. They let it be and then said, what's going on in our life? What can we do? How can we help?
And that's a perfect example of not taking things personally, because you so easily could have in that moment been offended, been annoyed, and thought, I am not talking to her for a good week.
That's
but
right,
instead,
rightly so.
Turn the heart around and reached out in a kind way.
That's right. Being the bigger self and being able to recognize what's really going on rather than just that knee-jerk.
I love this next point, because sometimes we find ourselves in the middle of what feels like a confrontational conversation. Sometimes you don't even know how you got there, right? All of a sudden things escalate. Another woman is coming at you. What do you do in that case?
Well, I think a great thing is to give it nowhere to go. And years ago, I learned this from a class I attended from Gary and Joy Lundberg. It was fabulous. He was on stage and he role-played this very thing, had a pretend irate co-worker coming at him saying, you didn't get this here and you didn't get it on time and I'm tired of these things, blah, 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 blah. And then just let him do his bitter diatribe. And then when the other person was done, Gary just said, okay, and then left it at that and walked away. It was perfect. And I thought, you're right, because in that moment, you can't change the other person's behavior, not that you can anyway, but you can't do anything about that, really. Somebody's on a bender, and you just have to let it be and diffuse the situation and move on, and then come back later.
How can we give it nowhere to go? Because I love this idea. How can we practice that without coming across as rude? Because a lot of times, if a woman was just to give a simple, okay, and walk off, that would almost seem like a mini adult tantrum. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good point. And you can also do kind of clarifying questions where you can say, okay, I appreciate you sharing that. Or you can say, are you venting your feelings? Did you want me to take action on that? Help me to understand.
Oh, I like that.
So when you're giving more clarifying questions, you're letting them know, I hear you, and I know you're having a hard time, but what can I do? What can I do to help? And you can even say that, wow, are you having a tough day today? Is there something I can do? And that just pulls it right down and gives it nowhere to go. All that energy is looking for something to react to, and it just pulls it down.
And the key is it probably has to come from a genuine place, right?
Absolutely.
You have to be in that sweet spirit of heart yourself, otherwise it can seem condescending, I would think.
And that feeling of being grounded and saying, I'm not taking this personally. And maybe later I'll go back and go, wow, that was really personal. But this time you can just say, I'm not taking this personally right now. I'm just going to respond with love.
I almost feel like we could summarize this whole conversation with this next reminder that you're bringing to our attention, to look for that difficult woman's backstory. What got her to this point?
Yes, and I think sometimes when we're dealing with difficult women or difficult people, what we can do is we kind of make them into this entity, and they become kind of this enemy, like this magnified persona. And so before we even talk to them, either we're cowering or our back is up. And so what we need to do is pull back the humanity into that person, pull them back down into being a regular person, just like all of us, that have things to deal with. And that's the backstory. What's her financial issues? How's her home life? What's things going on with her marriage? How's her health? What's happening in her life? And that's the first thing we can even think when someone's coming at us. We just say, wow, I wonder what's going on in her life today. Because this is a lot of anger, a lot of energy, and this really is not related to me. And this is really out of proportion. So I wonder what's going on. And that's when we look at the backstory, we can really see that person is, well, she's just like me, and she's probably having a Monday. Years ago, I had this responsibility that I shared with this other gal, and loved her, but she was just, to be honest, she just seemed very self-focused, very me, always talked about working out, and wasn't really catching the vision or thinking about the people we were supposed to be over, and it really bothered me, you know. And I remember one night we had this activity and we were doing dishes side by side, and I just started asking her about her life and about her, and come to find out she'd been on her own since her early teens and just a real survivor, and things that she had been through. And suddenly, you know, it's brought back, sorry.
Tender story.
It is, because I was so judgmental. And it helped me to be able to look at her as a real person and say, wow. Now the flip side, you've really come so far, and here I'm nitpicking you about this little detail.
Right.
I think it can be bigger than that.
I remember being on the receiving end of this, actually. I was going through kind of a bumpy time a few years ago, and my sweet mom, isn't it always our moms, who can come in and rescue us, end of a bad day, unknowingly taking this bad day out on her in every little thing I said on this conversation. And I will never forget that she said, I love you, I'm here for you, and I'm hanging up now. I mean, she was quietly closing the conversation, but she left it with, if you need me, I'm here for you, but I'm hanging up now. And it was that subtle way of getting my attention, like I am unknowingly being that difficult woman. And my sweet mom was able to kind of do what you're talking about. Look at the backstory and just tenderly accept it. Can humor, do you think, I say this as we're wiping tears, but can humor help a situation, do you think?
Absolutely. I think and this is something that's tricky, because if you don't do it right, it can come across sarcastic or, you know, unintentionally mean, but humor is great. I think it is the great diffuser, because if you can just say something funny, like someone gives you a bitter diatribe or they nail you on something, you just say, can I get you a brownie? Did you need a brownie? Something that makes them laugh. I know this one lady years ago, she'd been given this responsibility in her church, and she was not happy about it. She didn't want to do it. And she was trying to get me on board, and she was saying, I'm not taking a plate of cookies to someone because they don't even know me. Who would want that? And I said, well, I think it depends on how good the cookies are, you know? I mean, you just got to come back with something. I'm not buying into it. You know, you don't want to do it, so be honest with yourself. So humor is a great thing. It's a great diffuser.
Awesome. And your final reminder is to be kindly candid. At the end of the day, if anything else fails, just put it out there.
That's right. Be loving and be firm, but use your kind voice, just like your mom did. Say, I love you, you're the best, I'm hanging up.
I love it. Connie, thank you so much. Women everywhere are responding and reacting to Simplify and Savor the Season.
So happy.
Your new book is really making a difference out there, and now's the time you want to buy it because it has such helpful hints for the upcoming season.
It helps you. The first half helps you get organized very simply, super easy, and the second half, fun columns, little thoughts on the holidays that make you laugh and smile, and now we're doing 5 for $25, so $5 a book, so it's perfect for friends or neighbors. We're doing 5 for $25 with Simplify or 40 Days with the Saver. So here you've got 2 ways to give out friends books and gifts and things that are really easy but meaningful.
I mean, those gifts will go a long way, I think.
Yes.
Girlfriends are giving them too.
Keepers.
So you get 5 of those for $25.
For $25. Just go to our website, ConnieSokol.com. You can order it and we get them sent right out.
What a great gift. And you've given us a gift today. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll be right back with more on Studio 5.